Dragon pose is one of Yin Yoga's slightly more challenging postures. It strongly targets the hip flexor of the leg that you have behind you in a lunge pose, and it's not everyone's cup of tea. So let's go over dragon pose, the kind of classic version of dragon pose, and then we'll talk about some different variations and options for dragon pose so you can moderate it for your practice. If you were instructed to come into dragon pose in a yin class, typically you'd be coming up into a lunge position. I'm going to bring my right leg in front, and this will be the targeted leg. And then you'll be invited to bring both hands down to the floor inside that front foot. So you often need to wiggle that foot a little to the side. This can be very strong for some people. Too strong to think you'll be able to stay here for a minute, let alone 3. So one option for you is to actually have something underneath your hands. A bolster can be great for that. Just to raise the ground up. Taking a little bit of that sensation out of the back hip. But 2 blocks can also be great as well. You could have them up nice and high. Another variation is to actually have a block on the other side of your front foot and lift up a little higher. Although some people might find this actually creates a stronger sensation in the back hip. You're just going to have to try it. It will be different from person to person. Some people find that the kneecap pressing into the floor is what causes them the most discomfort in this pose. So a great workaround for that is to take your bolster and bring it back behind you so that it's actually propping up the back thigh. So if I was to come into my lunge position again, I'd have the bolster behind me in a way that actually elevates my kneecap off the floor. Oh, that actually feels a lot better for me. And you have the same options here of bringing the blocks back in, maybe on a different level. Maybe you actually want to come down onto your forearms here. That's quite nice. Something else that you can do with dragon as well is to turn the front foot out. So if I was to turn my front foot out and roll a little bit onto the edge of that foot, I'm going to start including the glute of my front leg into the target areas. And we usually call this a winged dragon, winging the dragon. But still, some people are going to find that all of these lunge variations are a lot, especially the weight bearing on the wrists and the shoulders. So one of my favorite ways to moderate dragon is to turn it upside down dragon. For this, you will need your bolster as well. So if you bring your bolster back into position and come and take a seat on top of your bolster, this is probably the most tricky bit. We're going to take the back onto the floor whilst keeping your buttocks on the bolster. Oh, and just take a moment when you get there. If we'd been working our left hip the whole time, which I have been, I would extend this leg out and then nice and slowly, I bring the right knee in toward my chest. And as you do that, you should feel that some of that same broad stretching sensation turns up in the front of the hip flexor again. Most people will report back that this is quite lovely. There's less stress on the upper body and they're laying on their back. It may not feel as strong in the hip, but that actually might be the right amount of sensation that somebody actually wants to feel. And then when it's time to come out of this version, you can simply release that knee, and something nice you can do is just slide the bolster out and let it catch the back of your knees, and then you can take your rebound here. I hope you found this video helpful today. If you did, feel free to check out some of my other videos here on Yin Yoga tutorials.